We're back here on the GSMC Football Podcast, and
keep yourself in the loop of everything football on the Golden State Media Concepts Football Podcast. The latest news on and off the field, be it college football, Big Ten, SEC, Big 12, Pac-12, ACC to the NFL. We've got you covered. Listen to the Golden State Media Concepts Football Podcast.
And welcome everybody to another edition of the GSMC Football Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Sports Network. As always, I'm your host, Kenneth Gruenfelder, and it's great to have you guys here on this Monday, June 24th. We have a lot to talk about on the show today. Before I get into that, just want to remind you guys, as always, to tip or donate, get your comments recognized, make sure to go to the following link. That is gsmcpodcast.net. Again, that really helps the show, makes the show more interactive between myself, the host, and you guys, the viewers. Again, that is gsmcpodcast.net. And as always, it is displayed on the ticker at the bottom of the show segment down below. So I was dealing with a little bit of camera issues before I came on today, so I'm just going to try to work on fixing that as we discuss what we're going to talk about. So I hope everybody is doing well. Everybody had a good weekend. As we're moving right along here, we're almost in July. Next week is the first week of July, so the summer's already moving very fast. Even though the first day of summer was a few days ago. But, like I said, I have some stuff to discuss on the show for today. So we're going to start off the show. We're going to talk about Julian Edelman commenting on Aaron Rodgers missing minicamp. Just go over what he said, and I'll give you my thoughts on that. Then, in the second part of the show, we will be talking about the final team in the AFC North. We'll talk about the Pittsburgh Steelers and their schedule. We'll break it down. And we'll give them, we'll see if we could try to give them 9 wins so Mike Tomlin maintains his winning record. Because when we get to a certain point in their schedule, it is a gauntlet that they're going to have to go through. And I just fixed it, and now it turned off on me. Whatever. Anyways, so yeah, that's the second part of the show. Then in the third part of the show, we're going to talk about Tom Brady, praising Peyton Manning, calling him the gold standard of quarterbacks. So we'll get into that as well. And then for the fourth part of the show, we'll talk about Breece Hall of the New York Jets. Some comments that he had that I wanted to talk about as well. And then in the final part of the show, we'll talk about Kyler Murray praising Marvin Harrison Jr., the rookie wide receiver that they took in this past NFL draft. So that's what's on the menu for today. So let's get into the first topic, which is discussing Julian Edelman and his comments on Aaron Rodgers missing minicamp. So he was on Colin Cowherd's show, The Herd, last week, and he kind of talked about it. And I wanted to just go over some of the things that he had to say, and I'll give you my thoughts. So he said, "I think it's a bad look for your leader for whatever reason to go and miss a mandatory minicamp. I was with Tom Brady in his 25th year or 23rd year, and he started missing OTAs here and there, but he never missed a mandatory minicamp. I just thought it was a bad look. I'm a big Aaron Rodgers fan, but if I was in that locker room and Aaron Rodgers wasn't there for 3 days on the mandatory minicamp, having played 4 snaps off of an injury, when we have 2 new receivers, a bunch of new linemen, and we added to the team with a CBA that doesn't allow us to practice a lot, I guarantee there's 4 or 5 guys, 6, 7, 8, 9 guys in that locker room sitting there like, where's he at?" And I know, when I first discussed this, when the news first broke that Aaron Rodgers was not going to be at minicamp, I sat here and said, I don't think it's a big deal. Now, I guess I was looking at it, and I think I said this, I was looking at it in terms of the grand scheme of things. And I was looking at it from a perspective of I'm not a Jet fan. So, now Julian Edelman is not a Jet fan. He was a Patriot. But that's how I looked at it. Because him missing those days, in the grand scheme of things, is not a big deal. However, I do agree with what people are saying, that, like Edelman, that he was hurt only played 4 snaps last year in the regular season. They did go through some changes. You have new offensive linemen that they brought in to try to protect him better, so we don't have something like what happened last year happen again. You got some new wide receivers that you got to work into the offense. And, some people's jobs are at stake. Because if the Jets don't have a good year, Robert Saleh is going to probably be gone. Joe Douglas is probably going to be gone. Nathaniel Hackett's going to be gone. And maybe Aaron Rodgers is going to be gone. So I do understand from that perspective that, yeah, it is a big deal. Because Rodgers got hurt last year. And you want to get as much time with your teammates, your new teammates, as possible. Get yourselves in good shape. So then when you take the field in September, you're going to be ready to roll. And I forget what I was listening to, but they were saying, like, if Rodgers doesn't play well, then I think it was Dan Graziano, because I know he had some comments on this on ESPN recently. But if they go out there and they don't play well, many people are going to go back to Rodgers missing minicamp and saying, this is why you should have stayed, and instead of going off on your trip. But I know I would come to Rodgers' defense and say, yeah, he was at OTAs, he was there every single day, and then he missed mandatory minicamp. But I mean, it is true though. Like, when minicamp is going to be. Like, you could have worked around that. Missed OTAs and then showed up for mandatory minicamp. Because, you know what, I do agree that it is kind of a bad look where you have 31 out of the 32 starting quarterbacks in the NFL, they were all at mandatory minicamp, except for Rodgers. That's a bad look. I do agree with that. And that would rub me the wrong way if I was a teammate of his. But I know that Sauce Gardner came to his defense. You had Robert Saleh coming out and saying it's not a big deal. But there's definitely some guys in the locker room that is rubbing them the wrong way. Like, Tyrod Taylor was getting first-team reps. You want Aaron Rodgers to be the guy that's getting the first-team reps, not Tyrod Taylor. And no offense to Tyrod Taylor, but if the Jets are going to want to have a really good season and go far in the playoffs, well, first they got to make the playoffs. Get to the playoffs for the first time since Mark Sanchez and Rex Ryan, that era. If Tyrod Taylor's taking first-team reps, and he's playing, that the Jets are not going to get where they want to go. And that's go far in the playoffs. Aaron Rodgers is going to be the guy that's going to do that. So, there probably are certain teammates of his in that locker room that it's kind of rubbing them the wrong way. I mean, there's a lot of guys in that locker room. It's not like it's basically double a baseball roster. And on top of that, you got guys that are trying to make that 53-man roster. So there's even more than that. So there are going to be some guys that they're probably not going to come forward and say, we're not happy about this. But, in their minds, they're saying, yeah, where is he at? Like Edelman said, where's he at? So, like I said, to me, it's not a big deal. But, again, that's coming from me. And if Rodgers goes out there and plays really well this season, we're going to forget all about this. And nobody's going to make a big deal out of it. But I did bring this up on a previous show because I think I was comparing him and Brady and their mindset. Like, I think Rodgers does want to win. And I think he still wants to play. But I don't think I do agree that I don't think it's a main priority. I feel like he's got other priorities that he would put ahead of that. Whereas Brady, when Brady was playing, Brady's trying to win all the time. I just feel like their mindsets are different, and that's why Tom Brady won more Super Bowls, I feel like. One of the reasons why. There were other reasons, of course, as well, but I think that's one key thing is the mindset. And I just feel like they had different mindsets. And that's why Aaron Rodgers only has one Super Bowl. It's part of the reason why. So, and again, for me as a guy that has grown up watching him and wanting to see him, win some more championships, it's very disappointing. And you kind of see that he doesn't really maybe take it as seriously as you would hope for him to. And again, I still think he does, but I just don't think, like, you're comparing him to Tom Brady, who's the gold standard when it comes to championships. There's only one Tom Brady. But I just feel like Rodgers doesn't take winning as seriously as you would hope for him to. I mean, I'm hoping he comes back, plays really well this year. I mean, I have the Jets doing well this year, but I know that there is a huge risk in believing in them too because of what's gone on for them since the last time they made the playoffs and what happened last year, because there's a chance it could happen again. Rodgers is now 40. And he's coming off of a significant injury. So there's a chance it can happen again. So I know I'm taking a risk. But it's a risk, like I have been saying all offseason, I'm going to take it. Because you don't want to just be like, oh yeah, they were bad last year, they're going to be bad again. I got to take some risks here. I don't want to I want to go against the grain a little bit. So... But let me know what you guys think about what Edelman had to say. Do you agree with his comments on Rodgers missing minicamp? Do you think it's not a big deal that Rodgers missed minicamp? Let me know in the comments. But yeah, so we are going to take our first break of the show here. And then when we come back, we will discuss the Pittsburgh Steelers schedule. And this one I will be, talking about in our production meeting after the show, because we do have some Steelers fans, and in our group, and I know that we're kind of trying to figure out, how many games are the Steelers going to win because their schedule is very tough. So we'll discuss that, and I'll see if I can get Mike Tomlin and the Steelers at least 9 wins because it's going to be very tough. So we'll dissect the Steelers schedule when we come back from our first break. So, with that being said, stick around, and we'll be right back here on the GSMC Football Podcast.
I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind? Please, Lord, give me a sign, a sign. I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind? Please, Lord, give me a sign, a sign.
I wanna be the greatest. Everybody on the fake shit. I look around and feel like everybody is the fakest. I make this every day and I'm impatient, hoping one day I blow up from the basement. Statement, the top is so vacant. I don't hear shit that I think is amazing. Waiting for my day when I'm playing sold out shows for 1,000 faces. Hey, give me that crown, get in my way and to be put down. It ain't your place, all this my town. If I want that shit, then I'll get it right now. I'm losing it, the noose it fits. I'm losing shit, a stupid myth. You choose to live or choose to dip. You choose to fight or lose your grip and lose a gift. Oh,
I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind? Please, Lord, give me a sign, a sign. I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind?
All right, and we are back here on the GSMC Football Podcast, and for the second part of the show, we are going to go over the Pittsburgh Steelers schedule. We'll talk about it, and I'll see if I can try to get them to at least 9 wins so Mike Tomlin can maintain his winning record here. But it is a very, very tough schedule. They did go 10-7 last season. Started 3 different starting quarterbacks. Kenny Pickett, Mitchell Trubisky, and Mason Rudolph. The Steelers were able to win their last 3 games to get into the playoffs. So I know that lately it's not that big of a deal for Steeler fans because the Steelers make the playoffs and then they're out in the first round. So, but still, I mean, I give them credit because it looked like they weren't going to make the playoffs at all. So, but now they got a completely different quarterback room. Russell Wilson is now the starting quarterback. You have Justin Fields as the backup, and if Russell Wilson doesn't play well, then you kind of figure that Justin Fields is going to take over as the starter. So this is the Steelers' schedule. Now, I want to point out that weeks 11 through 18, that is going to determine whether the Steelers make the playoffs or not. It's going to be those games right there. Those last 8 games. They're brutal. They really are. And, you know, from weeks 1 to 10, there are tough games in there, but it's doable. So, like I said, the last 8 games here, that's really going to determine whether the Steelers make the playoffs or not. So, let's go through their schedule here. So, they start off, so you got 2 quarterbacks now on new teams going at it in week 1. You got Kirk Cousins with the Falcons, and you got Russell Wilson now with the Steelers. Arthur Smith was the former head coach of the Atlanta Falcons. He is now the offensive coordinator of the Steelers. Yeah, this one is a toss-up for me. I feel like this game could go either way. Now, a big part is, how is Russell Wilson going to play for the Steelers? And I said you're probably going to see more of the Russell Wilson from Denver, although the Steelers, they feel like he's the Russell Wilson from Seattle right now. You got Russell Wilson talking himself up. Feels great. So, you know, we'll see if that's true. So I definitely could see the Steelers winning this game, or it could go either way. So I'll give him a win here. Because also, you got the defense too, and I think the defense is going to be very good. That's, I think, what's ultimately going to carry this team, is the defense and the running game. The Steelers really prioritize the offensive line this offseason through the draft, and hopefully that pans out, because if it does, the running game is going to benefit from that, and Russell Wilson is going to benefit from that as well. But you also have the defense as well. The defense could force turnovers. You got T.J. Watt there. They could get after the quarterback. So, you know, I don't think the Steelers on paper are a bad team. You know, it's just, you got a brutal schedule, you know, the second half of the year. But anyways, I think this will be a win here, but I could see it going either way. The Broncos, I don't think the Broncos are going to be very good this year, and it's a Russell Wilson revenge game, however you want to interpret that, but I think the Steelers can win this game here, so I'll give them another win. So you start off 2-0. Then the Chargers come to town. Steelers home opener. That is, I think that's going to be a tough game, because like I've said on past shows, I think the Chargers, they're going to be a sneaky good team. But, you know, the Steelers at home, you know, the Chargers, I mean, you got Jim Harbaugh now there. I think, you know, the defense is going to be better, I think, with him there. Yeah, it's tough. But, you know, the Chargers offense, we'll see how that is, you know, with the running backs now there. And Gus Edwards and J.K. Dobbins. You know, you got some young receivers that you got to work in. I think this game could be close. I think it could go either way. I'll take the Steelers at home. So, Steelers start off 3-0 right now. 3-0. I feel like at this point they'll either be I guess 2-1 at this point, maybe, because I have them at 3-0, but I don't know if I feel confident that that's going to happen. But we'll see. 3-0, 2-1 at this point. Then you take on the Colts. That's going to be a tough game. They did lose to the Colts in Indy late in the season. I feel like this is another game that can go either way. See, that's the thing about a lot of these games, though, is that this part of the Steelers' schedule is doable, but I feel like, you know, some of these games could definitely go either way. At some point, I think the Steelers will. So I think they're either going to lose to the Colts or the Cowboys and lose their first game. So at this point, they'll be 4-1. Then they take on the Raiders. I think that's another tough game. The Raiders, they play well at home. The Steelers did go in there and beat them last year. So I think they could do that again and get the win. I lean towards the Steelers taking them. But again, the Raiders, I think now with the full season of Antonio Pierce, I think they're going to be a better team. I mean, they finished 8-9. So, I don't know, how much better. But with Gardner Minshew as the quarterback, again, could go either way, but I kind of lean towards the Steelers. Then an interesting game. This is a Sunday night game, I believe. You got the Jets coming in. Back-to-back weeks, you got the New York teams coming in. So, the Jets-Steelers game, it could be a toss-up. You know what? I might give them a loss there and give them a win against the Giants. So I think I'll just do that. So at this point, the Steelers got 2 losses. Then they take on the Commanders. I'm going to give them a win there. I mean, we'll see how Jane Daniels is playing at that point. But I'll give the Steelers the win there. Now, this is where we get to the part of their schedule that's a gauntlet. So let's see. I had them losing to the Jets, and I had them losing to the Cowboys. So at this point, you got 2 losses. They are 6-2, right? At this point. So this is where they were, this is where this is make or break for them, in my opinion. So I'm going to say they split with the Ravens because for some reason these last few years they've been able to win games that they shouldn't against the Ravens. So that's another win for them. I think they'll split with the Browns. It might come down to that Week 18 matchup with the Bengals on whether they make the playoffs or not. So, and last year they swept the Bengals, but that was with no Joe Burrow. The year before that, they also split with the Bengals. Or they swept the Bengals. Because they won the Week 1 matchup with the Bengals. That was an overtime game. So, but yeah, I got them splitting with the Ravens, splitting with the Browns. Possible split with the Bengals. Week 15 at Eagles. That one's going to be tough. I think that's going to be a loss. Chiefs at home. Now, the Chiefs did... This is on Christmas. The Chiefs did lose to the Raiders on Christmas last year, and that was a home game. Now they're playing in Pittsburgh against that defense. But I don't know. I don't know if I could pick against Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs in that game here. I mean, we'll see. Listen, Russell Wilson did beat Patrick Mahomes last year, but that was when he wasn't feeling too good. So I'm still going to take the Chiefs there. And I guess maybe it'll come down to this Week 18 matchup in Cincinnati. And actually, no. It's going to be at home. And I just realized that I forgot to flip around the Bengals and the Steelers. It's a Steelers home game. But I forgot to flip it around, so that's my bad. I know, because I was saying, I'm like, wait. I thought they were finishing up the season at home. So yeah, the Steelers are supposed to be finishing up the season at home. That's my fault. So yeah, it could come down to that, and maybe the Steelers rise to the occasion. Because when they have their backs against the wall, they do come through at times, and I feel like this could be a game where they do that. So I'm going to say the Steelers, maybe they do split with the Bengals, they get the win, and maybe they sneak into the playoffs. So how many wins is that? So I had them winning against the Falcons, the Bengals, or the Broncos, the Chargers, one of the Cowboys-Colts games. I had them beating the Raiders, the Giants, the Commanders, all 3 of their divisional opponents. That gets you to, well, I counted 10. I don't think that's going to be 10. I think I'm going to knock it down to 9. So, yeah. I mean, 9 wins I think is doable. But I don't know. I mean, I had them starting off 3-0. I don't know if they're going to do that. Maybe they start off 2-1. But I could see, because I mean, the AFC North teams are going to beat up on each other. So, and I feel like the Steelers, with their defense and their running game, and maybe Russell Wilson is playing decent. He doesn't have to be great. Maybe, they steal a couple of wins. So, I'm going to say 9 wins that they can get to it. But a lot of it has to do with the first half of their schedule. I think you get 6 wins from the first half of your schedule, and you can win, if you could split with your divisional opponents and go 3-3, there's your 9 wins right there. Because I think they should beat the Broncos. The Chargers at home, I think they can win that. The Falcons, I said they could win that. I think they should beat the Giants. The Commanders, I said, would be a win. The Colts and the Raiders. Yeah. So, I think that combined with splitting with your divisional opponents, I think that gets you to 9 wins. It's going to be tough, though. It's going to be tough. We got to see how this offense is. I mean, you got the defense. The defense can only do so much. The offense is going to have to generate some points as well. And I know one thing with the Steelers is they're looking for a number 2 wide receiver. Because the depth behind George Pickens, it's a question mark. Now, they drafted a receiver. They drafted Roman Wilson. But you signed a lot of guys. You signed Van Jefferson. Who else did they sign? Marquez Callaway as well. I'm trying to think of who else. Quez Watkins. I mean, these guys are more depth pieces. So, they need to find, I mean, who knows? Maybe they trade for Brandon Ayuk. I know there were some rumors swirling about that being a possibility. Well, not really that being a possibility, but that could be a possible destination for him. Because I know there was that story earlier in the season, or earlier in the offseason. It was about Brandon Ayuk and Mike Tomlin. So I don't know. But that's the Steelers' schedule, though. And I know, like I said, week 11 through 18, it's a gauntlet. But I don't think it's not like the Steelers are going to lose every single game. I think they could get that. I think getting those 9 wins, I think that's doable. But it's really going to have to come down to how do they fare the first half of the year. Because I think from weeks, they have a bye week 9, but I think from weeks 1 to 10, all those games are winnable. Now, I'm not going to say they're going to win every single one of them, but I think if they could at least get to 6, I think they could split with each of their divisional opponents. And if not, then you probably see 8. So I'm going to say 8 or 9 wins. They're going to finish around there. But that's my opinion. Let me know what you guys think. How many games do you think the Steelers will win in 2024? So before we go to break, I just want to remind you guys, once again, to tip or donate, get your comments recognized, make sure to go to the following link. That is GSMCpodcast.net. Again, that really helps the show, makes the show more interactive between myself, the host, and you guys, the viewers. Again, that is GSMCpodcast.net. And as always, it is displayed on the ticker at the bottom of the show segment down below. So when we get back from our second break of the show, we'll talk about some comments Tom Brady made about Peyton Manning, calling him the gold standard of quarterbacks at his Patriots Hall of Fame induction. So we'll get into that. I'll kind of just talk about the Manning-Brady rivalry when we get back from our second break of the show. So with that being said, stick around, and we'll be right back here on the GSMC Football Podcast.
Looking for your daily fix of sports talk without having to pay for it? GSMC Sports Network is available on YouTube. Just search GSMC Sports Network. Get your fix of daily sports talk shows on YouTube, absolutely free. NFL, college football, NBA, MLB, MMA, UFC, fantasy football, and so much more. GSMC Sports Network has shows running all day long, with new sports shows starting every 2 hours. Just like on your favorite cable sports channel, except GSMC Sports Network is absolutely free. Just search GSMC Sports Network on YouTube to catch one of your new favorite shows, like the GSMC College Football Podcast, Chip Shot Football Podcast, Hoops and Heels Women's Sports Podcast, GSMC Basketball Podcast, and so many more. Check it out for yourself. GSMC Sports Network, now available on YouTube absolutely free. Search GSMC Sports Network on YouTube right now.
All right, and we are back here on the GSMC Football Podcast. And for the third part of the show, we're going to talk about Tom Brady and Peyton Manning. We'll talk about some comments made by Tom Brady on Peyton Manning at his Patriots Hall of Fame induction, calling Peyton Manning the gold standard when it comes to the quarterback position. So this is what he had to say. And I know I talked about Brady's Hall of Fame induction on a previous show. I think it was, last week or 2 weeks ago, around there. But this was something that came up that I wanted to touch upon. So he said, I think that I could never have been the type of player that I was without having someone like Peyton that I had to aspire to be like. And I looked at him as the gold standard for quarterback play, and I still do. And Peyton Manning said, talking about the fans in Boston, they liked me here because I always lost here. I'm much more popular than Eli here, I promise you that. But no, absolutely, you knew when you were playing against the Tom Brady team, you better be at your best, because if you weren't, Tom Brady was going to beat you every time. And Peyton said, I'm honored to be here tonight talking about the ceremony, and I promise I'll be there in a couple years when he is there in Canton as well. I mean, both of these guys have a lot of respect for each other. And, Peyton Manning, came into the league a little bit before Brady. And I believe the first matchup they went, the first matchup they went against each other, Brady won. Well, Brady went 11-5 against Peyton. Now, Peyton has a record of 3-1, I believe, in the AFC Championship games that they played against each other. I think 3-2 is the overall playoff record. But yeah, I mean, Brady won a lot more in the regular season. But yeah, that is one of the best rivalries in all of sports, is these two guys. And they got a lot of respect for each other. And you definitely do miss seeing them go at it year in and year out, because, I mean, that was once in a lifetime thing. Now, I didn't really see all of their matchups because, I didn't really start watching football. Well, when they started playing against each other, I was an infant. Towards the end of their careers, that was when I was, watching. And, I got to see the AFC Championship games that they played. Well, mostly when Peyton was in Denver. Because again, that's, it was my prime years of watching football. Well, these are still my prime years, but, saw that. Of course, saw the matchup when, the Broncos were up 24-0, and, the Patriots came back and won that. But yeah, this was a great rivalry. And again, the admiration that these two have for each other is unbelievable. They speak very highly of each other. And I don't know if I brought this up when I was talking about Brady's Hall of Fame induction with the Patriots, but they brought up how they had this private event, this private workout where they got, I think, high school receivers to work out with them, and they would have them run routes, and they were doing that together. And they said, do not tell the media or anybody that we did this, that we're friends. They didn't want the media knowing that they were hanging out together in the off season. So I thought that was funny, that something that they brought up. But like I said, I mean, it was a once in a lifetime thing, and they were the top quarterbacks for a long time, You had other guys in there like Aaron Rodgers and Drew Brees as well during that era, which, is nothing's ever going to top that. I know what Patrick Mahomes is doing is unbelievable, but I think part of it's a nostalgia factor as to why it's like, nothing's ever going to top this era, because we do have some pretty good quarterbacks that we're seeing right now. They may be more talented, but in terms of accolades, again, take Mahomes out of it for a second, but I don't know. Like, some of these guys, like, are they gonna win multiple championships like, Brady and Manning did? I know that Peyton's second Super Bowl, that was on the backs of the Broncos defense, but still, he was a part of it. He got a second ring out of it, but some of these guys may be more talented than Brady and Manning, but are they gonna win championships? I don't know. Now, part of that does have to do with Patrick Mahomes, but that's what I wanted to talk about, though, is what's like the next Manning Brady rivalry in this era, because some people at one point it was it's Mahomes and Lamar Jackson, then it was Mahomes and Josh Allen, then it's Mahomes and Joe Burrow, but it's not really the same because it's kind of one-sided. Now, Joe Burrow has a winning record against Patrick Mahomes, but Joe Burrow doesn't have any Super Bowls. Patrick Mahomes right now has 3. So one of these guys is going to have to step up and maybe win a championship, because since Patrick Mahomes has come into the league and since he became the starter, like, let's take 2017 out. 2018, Brady wins. Mahomes wins in 19. Brady wins in 2020. 2021, the Rams win. Stafford gets his first ring. And then back-to-back championships for the Chiefs. So, there's no... Now, Joe Burrow played in a Super Bowl, but he didn't win it. So who is going to be the guy? Right now I think it is Joe Burrow, just because he's beaten Patrick Mahomes in a championship game and he's gotten to a Super Bowl. But one of these guys is going to have to win it. And I don't know who it's going to be. Who is going to be the team that knocks off the Chiefs? I don't know. We're going to have to find out if a team does that this season. But that's what I would probably lean towards. I'd probably lean towards it being Burrow and Mahomes. But I don't know. But that just goes to show you, this was a once-in-a-lifetime thing between Brady and Manning. And, again, Brady went 11-5 against him, but they did have some classic matchups. You had the Colts coming back against the Patriots in the championship game. And like I said, the regular season matchup when, the Patriots were down 24-0, they came back. That 2015 AFC Championship game got dicey at the end. Brady converts that 4th down to Gronkowski. That was actually on NFL Network recently. So it was a once in a lifetime thing. But that was on recently. Then they got the touchdown, and then they didn't get the 2-point conversion that got intercepted. And it just that was the last matchup. Was that AFC Championship game. And obviously Brady went on and played for almost another decade. But it just it's something that football does miss. So again, there's a few candidates, because right now it's Patrick Mahomes and then it's a few other guys. But we got to see. Or maybe it's Patrick Mahomes and C.J. Stroud. They haven't played yet. No, I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. Because again, the years that Patrick Mahomes didn't win, it was guys from the last era. Brady, of course, 2 rings, and then you had Stafford. So, we'll see what team can knock off the Chiefs, like I said. But it's going to be tough. So, but I mean, that's really my thoughts. So let me know what you guys think about that, though. What's the next Manning Brady rivalry? Is it Burrow and Mahomes? Because I mean, I think that's probably what you would lean towards, just because Joe Burrow was able to beat Patrick Mahomes in a championship game. Josh Allen hasn't. Josh Allen is 0-3 against Patrick Mahomes in the playoffs. Lamar Jackson just lost to him recently in the championship game. So, yeah, let me know what you guys think about that. But, yeah, that's I just wanted to touch upon that. The Tom Brady, praising Peyton Manning, calling him the gold standard. Because, I mean, you're not going to see Tom Brady call himself, the greatest of all time. Because I don't even think he likes people saying that. He's going to say, oh, you had Peyton, and, it's just he's never going to call himself that. Even though he probably, thinks about that to himself. But, I don't know. Has he ever called himself the GOAT? I don't think he has. At least publicly. But, I mean, I guess maybe at the roast. But, that was a unique thing that they had. But yeah, that's really my my thoughts on all that. Let me know what you guys think. What was your favorite moment from the Brady Manning rivalry? Because it went on for a long time, and I think the game does miss it. We're kind of looking for that next rivalry. I mean, like I said, there's some candidates, but I don't think anything's really, going to come close to living up to this. But only time will tell. So we're going to take our next break on the show here. And then when we come back, we'll talk about Breece Hall of the New York Jets, talk about some recent comments that he had, and, just kind of my expectations for him this season for the Jets. So we will get into that when we come back. So stick around, and we'll be right back here on the GSMC Football Podcast.
For the best and latest podcasts available anywhere, go to the podcast app on your cell phone and type in GSMC to access free content-rich podcasts on health and wellness, book reviews, sports, entertainment, relationships, social media, movies, technology, finance, and even weird news. Subscribe and download the GSMC Podcast Network's family of shows, available everywhere podcasts are found.
All right, and we are back here on the GSMC Football Podcast. And for the fourth part of the show, we're just going to talk about Breece Hall. I know that with the Jets, we've talked a lot about Aaron Rodgers and just the drama surrounding that. But let's talk about something that Jet fans can be excited about, and that is their third-year running back, already going into his third year. And I wanted to talk about some of the things he had to say. Of course, his rookie season, tore his ACL against the Broncos, and he was on his way to having a really good year, and then unfortunately got hurt. But last year, I mean, especially towards the end of the year, played really well. And I think this is something that the Jets can really look forward to, is having this guy as your starting running back. So this is what he had to say. I ended the season on a good note, just last season, still not feeling like 100% all the time. But now I had my first offseason to not just be trying to get back, but to get better. And I've gotten better this offseason. I'm a lot leaner. I feel a lot healthier. My knees feel a lot better. I just feel like I'm back to my old self. And he said, really, it's just all on me. We have the team now. We upgraded in every room. So I'm just happy that we have the guys that we have now. Happy for everything I've had in the past. So now it's on me. And he also said, I feel like right now, talking about Christian McCaffrey, this is one of the bigger things I wanted to discuss. I feel like right now McCaffrey's the best in the league. To me, he sets the standard. we're going to see him in week 1, and we're playing against some of the best linebackers. For me, it's exciting just to see where I stand and really let everyone see my full talent now that I'm healthy. And he also said it was cool, like I said, he sets the standard, so it was cool to see him raise the mark and then continue to get paid. He's a top 10 player in this league, and I feel like with my talent and the team we have, I have the potential to trend towards that way. So I'm just excited to get rolling. So he brought up Christian McCaffrey. And, in terms of where Breece Hall, finds himself among the best running backs, I mean, he's definitely up there. I think last year proved that. I mean, at the end of the season, I mean, I forget how many. He had didn't he have 30-plus carries against the Patriots in the final week of the year? Because they were playing in that blizzard last year. And that was the last game that Bill Belichick coached for the Patriots, and the Jets ended up winning. But yeah, towards the end of the year, 37 carries, 178 yards rushing, and 1 touchdown. He had 13 carries for 84 yards against the Browns, but that game was kind of out of reach, and you figured if that game was closer, he would have had more rushing yards. He had 20 carries for 95 yards and 2 touchdowns against the Commanders as well. So towards the end of the year, played really well. Against the Dolphins, I mean, he only had 6 carries for 12 yards, but the Jets lost that game 30-0, so they were playing catch up the whole time. But he ended up finishing with 994 rushing yards, 5 touchdowns, 223 carries. So, and now he's looking to build off of that strong finish and, do even better, which I think he can with the improved offensive line, and you hoping a healthy Aaron Rodgers as well. For me, I mean, like I said, you probably have to rank him up there. I mean, definitely in the top 10. I mean, he could be in the top. He could be in the top 5. I mean, I'd have to really sit down and do a rankings. I mean, I'm not going to go through every single running back off the top of my head, but he's definitely up there. I mean, this is a dynamic playmaker that the Jets do have, and I think, with Aaron Rodgers trying to get himself back into the swing of things, I think the Jets are going to have to lean on Breece Hall early and, make him kind of the focal point of the offense as Rodgers tries to get himself back to, game shape. And, I expect him to, have a good season. And this is a true test for him. Like he said, week 1 against the 49ers. This is one of the best defenses in the NFL. The linebackers with Fred Warner. Now, I don't think they're going to have Dre Greenlaw because he got hurt in the Super Bowl. But, going up against that defense, that is going to be a true test. And it's going to be a true test for the Jets in general. They're throwing them right in. With the improvements that they made on the offensive line, the other weapons that they added to go along with Garrett Wilson, it's going to be a true test for them. And it might not get off to the best start because, it's tough to go right up against the 49ers to start the year. But, you know what? We'll see. We'll see what happens. But, and the other thing, too, is with Breece Hall, now he's another year removed from the injury. I mean, you could tell right off the bat, the first game of the year, he had those 2 big runs, and you're like, he's going to be fine. That's a good player that the Jets have. And like I said, I think he's going to go out there. He's going to have a good year. And with the offensive line hopefully improved, I mean, that's only going to make him better. Now, I think, there's only one Christian McCaffrey. But I mean, I think Breece Hall, he could put himself in the conversation with some of the top running backs. I'd like to see how he is as a receiver. I mean, I know he has caught passes out of the backfield. But, I mean, Christian McCaffrey can do everything, at a high level. And, like we talked about, Brady and what he said about Peyton Manning. Yeah, Christian McCaffrey is the standard for running backs, because he could do it all. And, Breece Hall wants to be in that conversation. So, yeah, I mean, we'll see how it goes. I think now, you get Rodgers back, and, if this offensive line can block and can stay healthy, I mean, I think the Jets are going to have a good offense. It really is all going to come down to the health of their quarterback. And if their quarterback isn't healthy, well, it's going to be tough. But I think that they should be good to go. I really do believe that. And, with all the stuff going on with Rodgers and him missing minicamp, it's nice to actually just talk about something that's positive with the Jets. And that's their running back. Because he's going to be a big part of this team for a long time. And like I said, another year removed from the injury. He's going to make plays. You're going to see a lot of big runs out of this guy. And they're going to be put to the test right away. But and then even after that, like the Jets' schedule, I feel like, it gets soft after that. So Breece Hall is going to have some big games. So yeah, you might lose a tough game to the Niners, but after that, because I know they play the Titans, which the Titans could be better with their receiving core now, and maybe Will Levis is better in year 2, and then they play the Patriots after that. Lean on Breece Hall early, and let him carry this team until Rodgers is ready to sling it. I mean, he's gonna be slinging it from day one, but maybe he's not gonna be. He's gonna be a little rusty. There is gonna be a rust factor. So, but yeah, I'm excited to see what this Jets offense can do if it's at full strength, because we didn't get to see it. We really got the highlight from the first game of the year was that handoff to Breece Hall by Rodgers for 20-plus yards. We really didn't get to see anything after that because everything else was incomplete, and then, Rodgers got hurt. So now we'll get an opportunity to see that. And, Breece Hall, another year removed from that injury. I mean, how many times have we seen that with guys? They're another year removed from the injury. Like the first year they come back and, maybe they're not the same. And then the following year they do even better. So probably going to see that with Breece Hall. 994 rushing yards he finished with. I expect that number to go up. 5 rushing touchdowns. Expect that number to go up. So we'll see how it goes. But this is something that the Jets should be excited about, is the young running back that they have. And, we'll see how it goes. Look, I've been positive on the Jets, all off season. And, I've talked about how I'm taking a risk with it. This is one of the guys that is going to send the Jets in the right direction, is their running back. So, that's part of the reason why, is their skill position players, and he is a big part of that. So with that, we are going to take our final break of the show. Again, let me know what you guys think about Breece Hall. What kind of season do you think he is going to have? I think he's going to have a big year, especially with the improvements that they made at the offensive line. So yeah, let me know what you guys think on what kind of season you think he's going to have. And we're going to take our final break of the show. When we come back, we'll talk about Kyler Murray and Marvin Harrison Jr. Kyler Murray praising Marvin Harrison Jr., and that's what we will get into when we come back from our final break. So, with that being said, stick around, and we'll be right back here on the GSMC Football Podcast. right, and we are back here on the GSMC Football Podcast, and for the final part of the show, we are going to talk about the Arizona Cardinals. We'll talk about Kyler Murray praising Marvin Harrison Jr. Just wanted to get into that and give you my thoughts on it. So this is what he had to say about their rookie wide receiver. So he said, I think that takes us to another level. When you got a guy out there that is capable of winning one-on-ones, obviously he's got to go do it. He knows that. We all know it. But as far as manipulating coverage and stuff like that, you got a guy out there that can do that. And even if he's not open, he's open. I'm excited to be able to build that with him. But when he does what he does, yeah, I fully expect our offense to be top of the league. So that really is high praise there. Also, a quote from Marvin Harrison Jr. He said, I didn't want to come in with a big head. I knew I had to earn everything, so just simple things like that. Let them go in front as they rightfully deserve, and then they kind of allow me to go in front now because they understand what I can bring to the team. And a second-year cornerback, Garrett Williams, he described Harrison as special. You look at his height, and then you look at his movement ability. Those two things usually don't match up like that. So for him to do it and make everything look so easily, the ball tracking abilities, everything people said he is. So yeah, a lot of praise for the rookie wide receiver. A little tongue twister there. Rookie wide receiver. And yeah, I mean, I think that was the right pick for the Cardinals when they made that selection. They have other needs at different positions, but they needed a playmaker. And, they do have some playmakers on that offense already, like Trey McBride, their young tight end. I mean, he played really well last year. You still got James Conner there. They did draft a running back as well. But they kind of needed that number one wide receiver in this offense. And they were committed to Kyler Murray. They felt like Kyler Murray is still their guy. I mean, Jonathan Gannon talked about it. The social media team, they posted something that said our franchise quarterback. So they believed in Kyler Murray. He was going to be the guy. The Cardinals were not going to hit the reset button and draft a quarterback because they probably could have did that. Now, the top three options would have been off the board. So, but we don't have to worry about that. They're committed to Kyler Murray. He's the guy. And, I thought he played well, when he came back from his injury. Now, he's going to be a year removed from that injury, or another year removed from that injury. And now he's going to be playing a full year. So that combined with now you have a number one wide receiver who's arguably the best wide receiver in the draft between him and Malik Neighbors. Yeah, I mean, we could see something similar to what we saw with Kyler Murray and DeAndre Hopkins, because that's why the Cardinals went out and they got DeAndre Hopkins from the Texans. I mean, I guess, Bill O'Brien basically gave him away, for David Johnson. And David Johnson, his best years were behind him. He was far removed from that 2016 David Johnson that we saw. I mean, injuries kind of played a role in that. But, that just was not – that was a lopsided trade. And DeAndre Hopkins and Kyler Murray, they did well together, So they're kind of hoping that the Cardinals are kind of hoping that they could recapture that and get back to that. And, yeah, maybe they win, some more games because of it. I still didn't have the Cardinals winning a ton of games this year. But, there are people out there that think the Cardinals have a chance to, be a sneaky good team, maybe be a team that fights for a wild card spot. And maybe they do. Maybe with Kyler Murray being healthy and they got this, elite weapon at wide receiver, and, some of the other guys, like I mentioned before, maybe the offense is pretty good. I think it can be. I think you got to see how the defense is as well, but, only time will tell. They play in a tough division. You got the 49ers and the Rams at the top. The Seahawks, you're probably going to be fighting with the Seahawks for that, for third place and last place. But, yeah, that's kind of where I'm at with the Cardinals. I don't really know what to expect. Last year they did win games that maybe they shouldn't have won, or you didn't think they were going to win. Like, they won their first start Kyler Murray won his first start against the Falcons. The Falcons were a team that was trying to make the playoffs. maybe the Falcons could have won that game, but they didn't. Cardinals won it with Kyler. They won in Philly. Got to give him credit there as well. The Eagles were up big in that game, and the Cardinals came back and won it. So we'll have to wait and see. But this could be a good connection that we see throughout the season. Is these two guys, and what kind of season is Marvin Harrison Jr. going to have? And he's a guy that like Kyler said is going to be the one that goes up and get those 50-50 balls. There's got to be a trust factor there. And I think there will be throughout the year. So I'm looking forward to seeing what they could do together. What kind of success are they going to have? But, I don't expect the Cardinals to be this great team. But, Kyler was talking about this offense being, one of the best. And, I think that's a little strong of a take. But but then again, it's like, what do you want him to say? You want him to be like, no, I think we're not going to be good. We're going to stink. No, he's not going to say that. But, I think with the healthy Kyler Murray and you add this dynamic playmaker to your offense, I think the offense should be pretty good. But, it's I don't think they're gonna win a lot of games. But I could be wrong. Because I did go through their schedule. Who did they start with? Oh, they start against the Bills. That's right, they do start against the Bills. So that's that game I feel like could go. I said I think it could go either way. But I think because the Bills are at home, I said they'd win. So yeah, they got the Bills and they got the Rams, Lions, Commanders, 49ers, Packers, Chargers, Dolphins, Bears, Jets, Seahawks, Vikings, Seahawks again, Patriots, Panthers, Rams, and then the 49ers to close out the year. Yeah, and they went 4-13 last year. I think I said that they'd probably finish around the same record, maybe get another win or two, maybe. But I don't know. And they did make the playoffs when the Rams won the Super Bowl a few years ago. But yeah, they did lose a lot of veteran guys since then. Kyler got hurt, of course. So that's part of the reason why they finished with that bad record. But we'll see how it goes. Could they surprise some people? I think so. They won games, with Josh Dobbs last year. They beat the Cowboys at home. That was a game that they should have, lost, but they didn't. With Kyler for a full year, let's see how they are. And like I said, I think taking Marvin Harrison Jr., that was the right pick, I think, because they were looking for that other playmaker for the team. And, they got it in him, and they're trying to recapture the years with DeAndre Hopkins. So, looking forward to seeing what the Cardinals can do. Maybe they surprise some people, So, but that's my thoughts on it. So, let me know what you guys think. What kind of season do you think Marvin Harrison Jr. is going to have with Kyler Murray? I think they're going to do well together. Kyler's another year removed from the injury. And, the Cardinals have confidence in him. And, I know some people had some questions about, his leadership and his maturity and things like that. But I think, having to overcome adversity with this injury, I think he's got a different mindset. So, we'll see how he does. But, that's really my thoughts on that. So, that's pretty much it for the show for today. Got a few more minutes here. But, we're approaching the month of July. So, we are a little over a month, about a month and a week before the Hall of Fame game between the Bears and the Texans. So, football is around the corner. And it's scary because, how many times have I brought up just time going very fast? But it's going to be here. And, with baseball in full swing, my Yankees are kind of struggling a little bit. So I'm kind of, peering over, like, oh, yeah, football's coming up soon. No, not really. But, yeah, I mean, you got baseball going on. Actually, the Stanley Cup, we got a Game 7 in the Stanley Cup tonight. Can you believe that? I thought it was going to be, you thought it'd be a sweep. But, no, we got a Game 7 tonight. So that's big. So make sure to, check that out. Tune into Garrison's show. Actually, I think he goes live during it. So that is interesting. But yeah, so Game 7 with that. Baseball's in full swing. So make sure to check out all the other shows, of course. Not just hockey and baseball, but everything else. Basketball. WNBA is still going on. Soccer, of course. There's a lot going on still. Yeah, I mean, listen, I'm just talking about off-season stuff. But before you know it, we'll be talking about games, and I can't wait for that. So, but yeah, make sure to check out all the other shows. Like I said, everybody's been doing a good job. And, yeah, so that's pretty much it from me for today. Thank you guys for tuning in. We'll be back again tomorrow, of course, same time, 10:30 a.m. Eastern Time. And, yeah, of course, until then, I'm Kenneth Grunfelder signing off from the GSMC Football Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Sports Network. Have a good day, and like I said, I will talk to you guys tomorrow. Take care.
Let's go. I wake up to a little bit of drool on my pillow, feel like it's gonna be a bad day. Yeah, I'm tired of shit, and the coffee ain't hit yet, damn, ain't that great.